I've gone into the law of attraction a lot in my past, and it didn't work for me, and I eventually found out why. Welcome to Life Support with Odille for changing negative implicit childhood memories using the Remmert method. We've created this forum for those who've read our book or watched our YouTube videos and need personal one-to-one help but aren't in a position to do one-to-one sessions at the moment. So if you're new to the Remmert method, be sure to check out the links in the description of this video. And if you'd like to submit a question or you would like me to work with you in this room, check the link in the description of the video for details on that as well. All right, so first up today, we have Harriet, and Harriet is in the room. Hi, Harriet.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm actually doing great.
Yay. All right. And so I know you put a little note on the form that you would like help with using the beginner's exercise that we also call the brain chemistry exercise. Yeah. And you were saying that you can imagine the color. It said you're having a hard time getting into the feeling of it, and it takes some time to happen.
Sometimes, yeah. An example, actually, this morning, I had to go to the doctor for my annual, and of course, they checked my blood pressure. So she said to me, just go into your happy place. And sometimes I believe I just put pressure on myself that you do it right now. And yeah, it doesn't work so well. I can't imagine the color, and then I imagine my dog's cute face, and then it's like zoom, 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 in and out and in and out. I don't seem to be able to stay in it. Right now I think I don't have a problem at all. But when it's more needed.
Okay, so that's great. So thank you for the question. And you're not alone. This is something that a lot of people have a challenge with. And here's the thing to remember, because it's all physiological and this is all about chemicals, and stress chemicals are stronger than feel-good chemicals. So when we're doing the brain chemistry exercise, we're wanting to produce those feel-good chemicals that, of course, feel good. However, when something triggers negative emotions or stress chemicals, those stress chemicals are stronger. So they will override the feel-good chemicals if we let them, kind of thing. So it's like if you are learning to ride a bicycle, you're okay if all being well, but if there's wind, for example, and you're not an experienced rider, you'll probably overbalance. And then you have those people who do the long bicycle things, triathlons and things, and they're really strong and they can keep going regardless of what the weather's doing and all of that, right? But as a beginner and intermediate, it's really difficult and you can't always do it. And this is the same. So in order to get to that stage of the triathlon people, one has to spend a lot of time and practice riding the bike when all things are good, when the weather is calm and when its visibility is good and there's not a lot of wind and the road is smooth, all of that, to get really comfortable, build those muscles, build those neural networks, all of that, so that then when they start going into more challenging terrain, you've got a little bit more skill built and your physiology has changed enough. And this is the same. So practicing that brain chemistry exercise like you're doing when you're not in a situation where you need it, that's the key. And then when you go into it,
just thought it's also a performance thing. I better perform. So, and that is something that I just thought I have to work on. You know, there are things that all of a sudden pop up and, yeah, okay.
That's it, exactly. Yep. Yeah. That's spot on, Harriet. And that's going to be your childhood stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a place to look. That feeling of you better get it right or you better perform.
Yeah.
Find out what references, memories are there from childhood and change them to the opposite positive.
Yeah.
Very good. And that will change that reference, that program.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then, of course, in addition to that, be practicing the Superpower, the brain chemistry exercise, the beginner's exercise, when you're just feeling good, to really keep developing that skill.
Yes. And that's easy, because then I don't
Yes.
have to fix anything. I don't have to perform. I just do it for fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you need. And then there comes a tipping point where you've been doing it so much when it's easy. You've been doing it so much that you'll find yourself going into it automatically when something starts to go wrong.
Yeah.
Because your brain will have made that link between thinking of something and then producing those feel-good chemicals. And it'll be so used to that that it then does it automatically, like any habit as well.
And I have one other quick question, please. Sometimes when I change a childhood memory, all of a sudden, all these other things pop up in my head. Is it okay to say, I'm going to deal with you later? Right now, I deal with this?
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
otherwise, I would just go bonkers.
Absolutely. That's exactly what to do. So you don't want to be ignoring or pushing away. You want to acknowledge and answer. And you could even write it down. If your brain goes, oh, but what if I forget? Just make a note for yourself. Oh, that one, I'll come back to later. Because then your brain goes, okay, I don't need to keep focusing on it because there's a plan. Now I can focus on something else.
And you just said acknowledging it. That's, I think, a step that I might not have done. So, okay, I got you. That's plenty, right? I see you right there. I'm going to deal with you. Okay, good.
That's good. Yeah. And you could think of it, like being in customer service or something, and you've got a queue of people and somebody comes up to the counter, but you're dealing with something else. You would acknowledge and you say, oh, I'll be right with you. One moment, please.
Yeah.
You deal with what you're doing and then you come back to that kind of attitude.
Perfect. All good.
Very good. Thank you, Harriet. Thank you for your questions. Good job. All right. And then next up, I have a question from Specihle. Specihle says, I am trying to manifest a job on a cruise ship. How would you go about doing that? And do you have any tips to help? I was thinking, as a step of faith, I should apply for a passport while I'm still applying for the job. Also, I remember you saying we should have a catchphrase like, I love my life, or yes, I did it. However, I'm struggling to feel how it would feel to get to that place in my life. Can I also add on that I want to work on the ship to make money in order to purchase something? Should I concentrate on the feeling of the thing I want to purchase or the job? So great question, Specihle. Thank you so much for asking it. And this is a really important topic, the topic of manifesting and law of attraction, that kind of thing. And the reason it's such an important topic is that there's a lot of information that is taught or that is shared that talks about it in the way of wishing. Okay, so you wish for something, you imagine it, you visualize it, affirmations, all of that, and then something outside of you, something or someone outside of you grants your wish. You get it from something, the universe or energy, whatever. Right? Different people believe different things. The challenge with that is it's a very disempowering state, because you are at the mercy of and relying on something that you have no control over. You're counting on something, some power beyond you to make it happen for you. And it's okay. I mean, people believe that, and that's okay. And if it works for you, fantastic. But I find, and I've gone into the law of attraction a lot in my past, and it didn't work for me. And I eventually found out why. And what I've discovered is, for whatever is maybe magical beyond what we can see and beyond what we can tangibly experience, I have no doubt there's that kind of thing, and there's all kinds of things we don't know about, we can't see, and energy and all of that, and that's all fabulous. However, what I found is that it's the only thing that, for me, in my experience, that is reliable and that I can count on is physiology. Meaning, instead of the attitude of, I'm going, I'll imagine, I'll visualize, and I'll do the affirmations and all of that, and then the universe is going to give me this thing, this experience, or this thing, house, car, whatever, relationship. Instead of that, I found the most effective thing to do is to change the physiology, which means the neural networks in the brain, which changes who I am and how I am responding, and the ideas I come up with, the problem solving, the opportunities I notice and don't notice, things that my judgment, things that I think are a good idea compared to not a good idea. All of that, now that is what got me from where I was stuck to the life I'm living today. Not wishing for something, visualizing it, and then it happening beyond my control or from outside of me. So that's one piece. Now, the other piece I want to really make a point of here is that we don't want things for the sake of having something. The only reason we want anything at all is because of how we think it will make us feel. And that can be really difficult to grasp because it feels like we want that thing. But if you think of anything, I want a relationship. Well, why do you want a relationship? Well, because it's nice to be in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be on my own because I think I'll feel something. I think I'll feel connected. I think I'll feel it'll be fun or whatever. I want money. I need more money. I want more money. Why do you want more money? Well, so that I can pay my bills. Why do you want to pay your bills? Well, because I don't want to feel indebted. I don't want to feel in trouble. I want to feel safe. So what you want there is not more money. What you want there is not even to pay your bills. What you really want is to feel safe. And the same goes for the job on the cruise ship. It's not the job on the cruise ship you want. It's not even the thing you want to purchase with the money you'll earn from the job on the cruise ship. You want to feel something. So let's say you get the job on the cruise ship, you make the money, and you purchase the thing you want to purchase. Now, what you want to do is, how would that feel? So how do I think I'll feel when I purchase this thing because I worked on the cruise ship? And that's what you want to grab as your end destination, because that is the end result. It may come from working on a cruise ship and purchasing this thing, or it may come from a completely unexpected route. There may be a different way that you end up feeling that way. There may be something you can't even imagine from where you are now. The biggest example from my life of this, I was an actress, professional actress before this life. And my big dream, the thing I was trying to manifest, was living in LA doing film and television. That was all I wanted. It was the thing, the only thing I felt would make me happy, the only life I wanted. And it was who I was. I grew up in a show business family, so this was just in my DNA. It's who I was. I could not see how I could ever be happy with anything else, any alternatives. And when I thought of other things, oh, well, I could do something else, I found that depressing. And I thought, that's just going to be depressing to not be an actress, to not be in show business. However, when I changed the childhood memories and I switched to creating a touchstone, and so I'll put the link to Touchstones in the description of this video for those who are new. When I created the touchstone of the end result, the feeling of the end result, and for me, that was, I love my life. Not in Hollywood or LA, no acting business, no bits and pieces that details. You can use the details just to get the feeling. And the feeling mine boiled down to was, I love my life. Doesn't matter what the details are. Now, if I hadn't done that, so I've ended up with that feeling, I love my life, but of course, nowhere near LA, not in show business. If I had insisted that that was all that's the end result. The end result is being an actress in LA. I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't be living a life I love. And interestingly, if someone now offered me a role in a movie or a TV series or anything like that, no matter how fantastic, I wouldn't want to do it. I would turn it down because that actually is not what I wanted. It's not what would give me this feeling. I'm living this feeling now. And it's the other piece here, I couldn't have imagined this from where I was. It wasn't something that I even knew about at that time. So being a professional actress in LA was the only thing I could see from where I was. I couldn't see the alternatives. So that's that piece. So boil it down to the end result feeling. How will it feel if you got those things, the job on the cruise ship and the thing you want to purchase, and then pick a phrase that goes with that. Take out all the details, just the feeling. So let's say you've got everything you want and you wake up in the morning, and how do you feel? That's what you want to use as your touchstone. And then make sure that feeling is in your childhood. So that's key. Make sure that you create childhood memories with that feeling. Again, it doesn't matter what the details are, as long as it's got that feeling. I love my life, or yes, I did it, or thank you, thank you, thank you. Whatever will give you that feeling. So applying for a passport, you mentioned there, sure, you can apply for a passport, but don't be counting on the fact that it has to be that you work on a cruise ship. Keep focusing on the end result feeling. And I know what I want to say is an analogy I like to use is if you want to end up in Hawaii, so you're going to get on a plane and fly to Hawaii, you don't really care what gate the plane is leaving from, right? You just want to get on a plane and end up in Hawaii. So your focus is on Hawaii. It's on being in Hawaii. It doesn't matter doesn't matter what route the plane takes or which gate it leaves from. That's the equivalent. So Hawaii in that analogy is the end feeling, not the details. Now, working on a cruise ship, so doing a particular job, getting the money, purchasing the thing, that's the gates you think the plane's going to leave from, or the route you think it must take. It's the only route you know of. That's like getting to the airport. You want to end up in Hawaii. You think the plane is leaving from a particular gate, and perhaps you were even told that's the gate it's leaving from. So you're sitting at that gate waiting for the plane. It's not coming. And there's been an announcement that it may leave from a different gate, but you are sitting at that gate and going, no, it's got to leave from here. This is the only gate it can leave from. And of course, if you do that, you're just going to sit at that gate. You're not going to get to Hawaii. You want to be open to thinking Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. That's where I'm going to end up. And then when they say they've changed gates, you're open to that. And you're, oh, okay, well, it's leaving from a different gate. That's fine. I'm still going to end up in Hawaii. So the equivalent of that is it may or may not be a cruise ship. It may or may not be this thing you want to purchase. It may or may not be money. But as long as you keep your focus on Hawaii, which the equivalent is the feeling, the touchstone, then when things come up, you'll notice them. And you will be able to think of, oh, they're there. How about that? Your brain will be open. Your mind will be open to other possibilities that may get you there quicker, if that's the only way. So be sure that you are focusing on that end result, because while you're focusing on it needs to be a cruise ship, you have to apply for a job on a cruise ship in order to get the end result. There are other things your brain's filtering out, you're not even noticing, you're not even thinking of, or you're dismissing them because it's not a cruise ship. But it may be the route that gets you to what you want. One more thing I wanted to add here, and that was just going back to the law of attraction and manifesting. And the kind of approach of asking for this thing, and then something or someone outside of me is going to give it to me or make it happen for me. Where that comes from originally is the fact that we are conditioned from babies to have that perception of life, because that's the reality when we are babies and small children. So when we're born, we're completely helpless. We can't feed ourselves, we can't protect ourselves, we can't do anything, right? And so for quite a few years, from when we're born, for quite a few years, we are relying on the adults around us to keep us alive, to feed us and protect us. That's number one. So everything we need is coming from someone outside of us. And everything that happens to us is coming from outside of us in those early years. So the brain is conditioned. We get to adulthood where that's no longer actual reality. We're still living it because the brains are conditioned that way. Everything I need to get from someone outside of me, something outside of me. The people in my life, the government, the universe, something outside of me is where I get my things from, my needs met. And everything that happens to me is happening from outside of me. But the reality is nothing can make you feel anything, because physiologically feelings are only chemicals inside our body, inside our own bodies. someone says something, or I get a job on a cruise ship, it's not those things that make me feel the thing. It's my body responds to those things and creates the feelings inside me. Now, you could sit in your living room and never go near a cruise ship and still feel the feelings if you allow it. And because if you can sit there and imagine you're on a cruise ship, and as long as you allow yourself to do that, your brain, those connections between neurons are going to trigger the same chemicals it would produce if you were working on a cruise ship. And so you'd have those feelings. But what happens, of course, is we may start that way, and then the conscious mind kicks in. Oh, yeah, but it's not really real. It's not, I'm not really there, and I'll never get there, and all of whatever else. So it's interrupted. But when we watch a movie, we allow ourselves to get involved, and the brain produces the same chemicals it would if we were in that situation. So then we watch a scary movie and we feel the fear. We don't need to be in the situation to feel the fear. We don't need real zombies outside the house in order to feel fear, right? When we're watching that kind of movie. And in fact, that's when during the movie, when we want to say to ourselves, it's okay, it's just a movie, but how difficult is that once those chemicals are going? That is how you know that you don't need something outside of you to create the feelings inside you. In fact, we don't even need to be watching movie all the time. We're thinking of things we're worried about and then feeling the feelings as if it's happening, but it's not yet. It's not happening. It may never happen, but we're feeling the feelings, the fear, the worry, the anxiety, the what if this and what if that. We're creating feelings based on not on what's around us, but inside. We don't generally do the same as much with positive things. We tend to not spend as much time daydreaming of the wonderful things and allowing ourselves to produce those chemicals and feel those feelings as if we're there, the way we do with negative stuff. And that's because, that's natural. It's humans, because the brain is trying to focus on the danger, because that's going to keep us alive. Focusing on the good stuff is not about survival. So that's why focusing on the negative stuff is stronger. But the point I want to make there is you don't need anything outside of you. You don't need your circumstances to change. You don't need other people. You don't need anything outside of you to create the feelings inside you that you want. It's just connections between neurons and chemicals. And even when it is in response to something outside of you, it's still connections between neurons and chemicals. That's all. There's nothing that can get from out there into your body and change your chemistry. I'll end on this little piece. And I know I have shared this before, but I'm going to share it again for those who haven't heard it. And also it may be a good reminder. It helped me massively. It was a huge penny drop for me. And it may not be for everybody, but my brain just went, okay, now I get it. A few years ago, and I don't know when it was, it could have been 2012 or something. I don't know, whenever The Secret came out, the movie The Secret. So whenever that was, I think it was long before 2012. Anyway, I watched The Secret and got really deep into everything about the law of attraction. I was making use of all of the information that I could find, and I was doing everything they said. I was doing the visualizing as if it's now. I was feeling it. I was doing the affirmations. I was really getting into it, the whole thing, and nothing was changing. Nothing in my life was changing at all. And I was very dedicated and very determined and all of that. And I remember saying to my sister, I'm doing everything they said. I am being positive. I'm doing the visualization. I'm doing everything. And yet I'm not getting any help. The universe is not bringing me anything. And my sister said, Odille, if there is anything or anyone out there watching you, they're not going to put down their popcorn to come and help you. I just thought, number one, it made me laugh. But number two, I thought, oh, okay, I get it. It's not that it's not working. It's not that I'm not being good and I'm not being rewarded. It's not that there isn't anyone or anything out there. It's that this is about me doing stuff. This is about me getting into alignment and then taking action, taking inspired action. It's about me changing my brain, which allows me to think differently, to notice different things, to react different, to communicate differently, to problem solve differently, and all of that. And as I went along that path, and then of course discovered the thing about changing childhood memories, which was the missing piece, then that's when my life started changing. Not because someone or something outside of me did some magical presentation to me. So hopefully that helps, but let me know if you have any questions about that, you need more suggestions or more clarification on any of it. Thank you, Chris, for the suggestion of this topic. It is such a good suggestion. And this is the topic of shame. The experience or the feeling of shame, it's so common and it's so foundational. Talking about where it comes from and how to overcome it, how to change it. So shame is, like all other negative emotions, about survival. And it's also a way in which parents and other adults find it easier to control children. And they do that, not necessarily deliberately, but it's an easy way. It comes to hand. It seems to have the desired effect. So child does something wrong, and making that child feel ashamed is a way of making sure that they don't do it again, that they're sorry, that they toe the line, whatever is involved. And of course, it's going to vary from person to person, from situation to situation. Now, someone else shamed us in our childhoods, right? And then we bring it from our childhood into our lives as adults, and then we do it to ourselves. And we do it to ourselves unconsciously and automatically, and most of the time we don't realize we're doing it. We're just spending time in it. And we very often project it onto others. What I mean by that is we think someone else is thinking that of us. So we're feeling ashamed because we think they are representing whoever it was in childhood. And they may or may not be thinking that. But certainly the experience of shame is all happening inside us. Like everything else, neurons are connecting, chemicals are being produced, and we're feeling those feelings. And then it becomes a cycle, because as we feel the feelings, we join in with thoughts to match those feelings. We add some more proof to it by remembering something or justifying something or coming up with more evidence of why we should be ashamed. And so it perpetuates, and it can be completely paralyzing. The way to address it is, number one, of course, first step is always using logic, answering the logical mind. So the first step is recognizing that shame, it's not an objective thing. Shame is subjective, and we wouldn't know to feel ashamed unless we have references for it. I'm sure you've come across other people who are doing things that you would feel ashamed about, but they don't seem to be ashamed. They seem perfectly fine with it. So some people will be loud and laughing and unashamed to express themselves. And then you'll have other people who are frightened to talk at all. And they look at those people who are loud and they may think, wow, embarrassing, right? The other person's not embarrassed because they don't have a reference for it. So that's the logic of it. So whatever shame you're feeling, number one, it's because of the references you have. It's not an objective thing. It's not like the sky is blue, right? It's not a fact. Then the second piece here is that shame, like guilt and other debilitating emotional states, is not effective or productive. It does not change anything. It does not solve anything. So feeling it is not actually making anything happen outside of you other than negatively affecting your brain and body, and of course, what you're trying to achieve in your life. It's holding you back. So having answered that logic and having decided on that, okay, so I know that it's not a real thing, it's just perception, and it's not helpful. Now let me figure out how to change it. Okay, so you need to get that conscious mind on board first to make that decision. Yes, it does need changing. I don't need to keep it. All right, so once you've done that, here's how to get to it. First of all, ask yourself, if you're feeling ashamed of a particular thing you did, or something you have coming up to, wherever that current experience of shame is coming from, or recent experience of shame is coming from. Imagine pulling your perception back. So you're going into detective mode now, observer mode, rather than being in it and joining in. You're pulling back and think, okay, so let me just think about what exactly is going on here. So if I were to boil it right down, what is it that's so shameful? How do I know that this is, I should feel ashamed about this? Or how do I know I do feel ashamed about this? And don't get lost in the details. Don't get dragged into that. Just observe. Once you've got the answer to that, then your next question is, okay, now where in my childhood did I learn that I should be ashamed? It may not be the same topic. So let's say, I know this has happened to some people, walked out of the loo with toilet paper attached to your heel or something, and you feel embarrassed and ashamed. Now you go, okay, so that feeling of being embarrassed and ashamed, where did I feel it in my childhood? It may not be the toilet paper attached to your shoe, of course. It may be that you were called up in front of class because you hadn't finished your homework. Or it may be that you asked for something and you were shamed for asking for it. It could be anything, but go with the first thing that comes to your mind, because you may think it doesn't make sense, but if it comes to mind, it's connected. If it pops into your mind, the unconscious part of your brain has connected it, even if it doesn't make logical sense. So let's say, for example, okay, so where in my childhood did I feel that feeling of shame, or did I learn to be ashamed? And perhaps the first thing that pops into your mind is a hat. Now, don't discount the hat. Don't go, well, can't be that. Where else did I feel ashamed? Go, okay, what's that hat about? What's with the hat? And then take a closer look and go, okay, so where did I see that hat? Or where's that hat from? And you'll probably find, as those neurons start firing, they start cranking up that neural network, you may think, oh, yes, I was wearing that hat when something else happened. But your brain may not have gone straight to the thing that happened. It may have come to the hat first. So that's why I say very important not to discount things. If it pops into your mind, follow that trail. And then, of course, change those memories. And I'll put a link in the description, of course, to do with why we change memories, the science behind changing them, and how to change them, how to find them, how to change them. So then change those memories, then come back to the current situation of shame, the current or recent situation of shame as an adult, and notice if it's still the same. As I think of this thing, do I still feel the shame? And if so, is it as strong as it was? Is it more strong? How do I feel about it now? And if it's still there, if you're still feeling some shame, do the same thing. Okay, so I'm feeling this. Where in my childhood did I feel it? And then something else. Keep doing that back and forth until you can think of the recent or current situation and you don't feel ashamed. Your perception has changed completely. And that's when you know, okay, so I've addressed that. And then, of course, practice the new childhood memories to establish them for long-term storage so that your brain knows those are the new references. So, Chris, I'm going to unmute you if that's all right. Is there anything I've missed out or anything more that you'd like me to talk about on that topic?
That was great. Excellent, Odille. Thank you so much. I've got 2 points or questions, really. I feel a lot of, in my own life, particularly, the shame, a long inherited shame, the shame generationally that came through either mother or father. There's war, before the war, teenagehood for young women in the 20s, that sort of shame, I'm sure. It has come to me as a great gift. Lovely. So that shame from the parents, and to address that. And then you might suggest almost a generic bookmark image moment that you feel really targets, really gets to that insidiousness of this quality shame. So for me, again, I got a strong feeling, not a knowing, it's a feeling that it started very, very early on in babyhood with something like a dirty nappy. Why that? It's what comes to mind. So get to reach. I mean, clearly, I can change the story and make it, and I have, and my childhood is so wonderful. But it's just because it does come up and it continues to They just step in, when I'm least expecting, as these things do. There we are, a couple of things there.
Yes, so thank you so much, Chris. Those are some great additions there. To take the generational shame first, so, that family heirloom of shame that's handed down for generations, we can do this little exercise, and I know Steve does this with his clients. It can be very effective. So everyone can follow along with this. Imagine, in fact, yourself as a child. So there's the little you, and it can be any age. And the child is facing away from you. They're facing that where you're facing now. In front of you are both your parents, mother and father, and they're facing the child, the little you. Behind each parent are their parents, and behind each of those parents are their parents. And so the generations go back as far as you can see to the horizon. And inside all of them, inside the little you, inside your parents, and all the parents going, all the generations, it's this dark spot. Perhaps it's in their heart or it's in their head. You can see this kind of shadow in all the people as far back as you can see. And now, from the very back, there's a ball of light that each person has in the back row, as far back as you can see, and they put it into their heart. And that darkness goes away because the light, right? You shine light into darkness, there's no more darkness. So now that back row of people all have this bright light shining out of their hearts instead of the dark spot. And that light in each of them is so bright, it produces another ball of light. So another ball of light is produced, their bright light is continuing to shine brightly, and now they have a ball. And they pass it on to their children. And so it happens all the way down, along each row, all the way to your grandparents. And then they've got this bright light and the darkness has disappeared. And then they hand their balls of light to your parents. And the same thing happens. Their light shines and there's no more darkness. And that darkness was the shame. And then they hand balls of light, their two balls of light, they hand to the little you. And the little you does the same thing, and now she's shining brightly, and there's no more shame. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Now, the piece I want to add to this, so once you've done that, and this is for everybody, of course, once you've done that visualization, and allow yourself to feel that feeling of it. Now then, moving forward, every time you notice you're feeling ashamed in any way, or you're starting to feel doubt or shame or anything, immediately remember that light and turn it up. So you've got this light, but sometimes it dims because something's happened that's starting to make you feel shame. And all that is that the light is starting to dim, and you just need to turn it up. Turn up that dimmer switch so that it's bright. So that imagine that light in your chest is now, you're turning it up, and now it's very bright, and there's no darkness, and shame is the darkness, and darkness cannot survive in light. So then you do that in each moment. So doing this little visualization thing with the light and the shadows and that is not going to suddenly change everything so that you never feel shame. That's not how it works. But making that decision in the moment when you notice it, turning on that light, remembering, oh yeah, we don't have that anymore. We don't have the shadow. We don't have the shame anymore. That's not a thing anymore. Now we have the light. Doing that in every moment, that's what will create the change over time. And then there will come a time, you've repeated that enough, you've done that enough, that when something would happen that you would normally feel the shame, you won't feel it anymore. And you probably won't even notice it. You probably won't even notice it's gone, because that's the way we are. We notice the pain, but we don't notice when the pain's gone. That's another thing for people who are saying, I'm not seeing any results or in anything. whether it's, fitness or anything else, whenever we're trying to make changes because we have some kind of pain, whether that's physical pain or emotional pain, psychological pain, whatever it is, we are aware of it when it's there, but the brain doesn't notice absence. So when we are no longer in pain, we're moving on to the next pain. Now, what else can I solve? And we don't notice unless we intentionally know. And that happened with me with fibromyalgia. So I was in pain all the time. And the only time I wasn't in pain was when I was in a hot bath. And painkillers didn't help, and all of that. And the doctors said there's no cure, and we don't know what causes it. All of that, went through all of that. Pain, fatigue, all of that. And one day I thought, I'm not in pain anymore, but I hadn't noticed when it went. I just realized I haven't been in pain for a while, but it's not like the pain went and I went, oh, there we go, the pain's gone, because the brain doesn't work that way. So that's just a little extra thing. So, but with the shame is the patch of darkness, and bright light will transform that. And just keep reminding yourself of that and playing that moment. And that is, of course, in addition to changing the childhood memories. So whatever childhood memories created shame, and like Chris, you were saying with the generations, we often witness, we don't have to necessarily experience that ourselves, we can pick it up from the people around us. And so those need changing as well, where they are shining their light, and perhaps play the situation. You may want to do stepping stones, play the situations that in which you would have witnessed someone feeling ashamed, and keep the situation, keep the scenario, and make them change so that they are feeling excited, happy, comfortable, whatever it fits that situation. Does that help?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you for the topic. Good job. All right. Well done, everybody, for being here. Appreciate you all. Appreciate all the questions. And I will see you all same time, same place next week. And lots of love to all of you. Bye-bye now.